Boker Tov, everyone! I'm Rabbi Keren Gorban from Temple Sinai, and it is my pleasure and my joy to celebrate the new year with you and to celebrate Shabbat with you this morning. We say the words Shana Tovah and Shabbat Shalom as we begin our service. Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam. Shana Tovah, Shana Tovah, hey, Shana Tovah, hey, Shana 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 Tovah, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shana 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 Tovah, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shana Tovah, Shana Tovah, hey, Shana 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 Tovah, Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Bim Bam, Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam. Shana Tovah means Happy New Year, and Shabbat Shalom means we wish you a day of rest, of peace. And I invite you to turn to the rest of your family and wish them a Shana Tovah and a Shabbat Shalom. It is so good to come together. So we've got another song, this one a song of welcome. The words are Hine Ma Tov Uma Naim. Hine Ma Tov Uma Naim Shebetarim Gam Yachad. 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 This time you repeat after me. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine Ma Tov Uma Naim Shebetarim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma Tov Uma Naim Shebetarim Gam Yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine Ma Tov Uma Naim Shebetarim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma Tov Uma Naim Shebetarim Gam Yachad. Shebetarim Gam Yachad. As we celebrate our new year, let's just. On Rosh HaShanah, we have all sorts of symbols, different things that remind us of how special this time of year is. So, when you think of Rosh HaShanah, what are some of the things that you can think of? What reminds you that it is time for Rosh HaShanah, or what do you bring out so that you can celebrate Rosh HaShanah? Let me hear your answers. Ooh, I think I heard someone talk about a challah. Yes, we have a challah, and not just any challah, right? Our Shabbat challah usually has a braid in it. On Rosh HaShanah, we eat a special challah that is round, a spiral. Anyone know why we have a spiral round challah? Yes, exactly. We have a spiral round challah because it reminds us of the year, that the year is like a circle. We start off at Rosh HaShanah, and then somehow we end right back at Rosh HaShanah. It's a different year, but it is the same holiday because we go around and around and around, just like our challah. We also have a round challah because it reminds us of a crown. On Rosh Hashanah, we celebrate that God is our sovereign ruler, that God is like a king or a queen who takes care of us and protects us. And so we have a challah that looks like a crown. What other symbols do we have on Rosh Hashanah? Oh, we have a shofar. A shofar is a ram's horn or a horn from another animal like an antelope that we can hollow out and make into a trumpet of sorts. We call it a shofar, and we blow our shofar to tell us that it is the new year and to remind us that it's our responsibility to return to our best selves. So this, of course, is a stuffed shofar, but I also have my special shofar. This is from an animal called a gemsbok. What else do we celebrate Rosh Hashanah with? Oh, apples and honey. We have apples and honey to remind us to have a sweet year. The apples are sweet but also round like the year, and the honey reminds us of the sweetness of the new year. And what do? Do we just eat the honey and eat the apples separately? No, we dip our apples into the honey. Usually they're sliced first. We dip our apples into the honey so that we can taste the sweetness and the freshness together so that we can have a sweet new year. So I have a story to tell you about the apples. Speaking of apples, I have a story about an apple tree. Once in a great oak forest where the trees grew tall and majestic and large, there was a little clearing with an apple tree. It was the only apple tree in the forest, and it stood alone. Winter came, and one evening the little apple tree looked up at the sky and saw stars. They looked so beautiful, especially since it seemed as though they were hanging from the branches of the oak trees. "Oh God," she whispered, "I hope and pray that I too can have a star just like the oak trees." God whispered back gently, "Be patient, little apple tree." Time passed and spring came. The snow melted and the birds started to fly north for the summer. They rested on the little apple tree's branches, which started to bloom with beautiful blossoms of pink and white. They sent forth a smell that was so fragrant and delicious, and people would walk by and just pause to enjoy the smell of those blossoms. Still, every night, the little apple tree would look up at the stars hanging from the oak tree's branches and pray, "Dear God, I want more than anything in the entire world to have a star." God told the little apple tree gently, "Look at all of the gifts you have. You provide a resting place for the birds. The bees sip nectar from your flowers. People enjoy the beauty of your flowers, the fragrance of them, and enjoy sitting in the shade underneath your branches. You have so much that makes you special." The little apple tree said, "God, I know that I have so much good in my life, But what would make me feel truly special is to have a star. Be patient, little apple tree, God said. Summer came, the leaves grew green and gorgeous and lush. The canopy of the oak trees filled the sky. And still the little apple tree prayed to have her stars. Finally, fall came. As the leaves of the oak trees started to turn gold and red and orange and brown, the little apple tree grew beautiful red apples. Still, she prayed for a star to be within her, and still she was sad that none could be found, that her wish had not been granted. Finally, a big gust of wind blew and knocked one of the apples to the ground. It fell with a clunk and split open in half. "Look, little apple tree," God called. "What do you see?" The apple tree looked down and saw the split open apple with a star inside. "I have stars! I have stars!" she cried. God said, "You had them within you the entire time. But more important than the stars that you have within you is the gift that you bring to everyone who comes by. Your branches, the fragrance of your blossoms, the nectar within them, the shade of your leaves, and the apples that feed the people and the animals in the fall. Be grateful for all the gifts you have. And yes, you are special and have a star within you." So I invite you, each of you, to think of what the star within you is. Is it like the apple tree that has fruit to share, shade to share, branches to share, fragrant blossoms to share? What is this thing that makes you special, the thing that makes you a star? Take a moment to think about it. Are you ready to pray? I know I am. It's time to get up if you're not already. Make sure you get some bouncy knees because we're going to bow in a little bit. We say it is good to praise God, and those who praise God are blessed. And so as we sing the words of Baruch Hu, I invite you to join in them and to dance along. anyone know what year we are in? Did you say 2020? You're right, we are in 2020 in the calendar we use in America. But the Jewish calendar has a different year because it goes all the way back to the first year of the world, the birthday of the world. And we say that Rosh HaShanah is the birthday of the world. So how old do you think the world is, according to Jewish tradition? Yes, according to science, it is billions of years old, but Jewish tradition doesn't go quite that far. It is 5,781 years old. 5,781 years. So 5,781 years ago, the Torah tells us that God created the world. And how many days does the Torah say that God created the world? It says that God created the world in 7 days. As the story goes in the Torah, when God decided to create the world, all there was chaos and mess and nonsense all around, along with some water and some dark and some wind. And God needed to make things neat, put things in order. And so the first thing God said was, let there be light, so that there would be something to distinguish between the dark and the light. So we have our friends Noah and Ethan to show some hand motions for how we might show light and dark. Let's see if you can do that too. On the second day of creation, the Torah says that God took the water and put some of it way up and put an expanse between the waters below and the waters above. Let's see our friends Henry and Ida show us some hand motions for the waters above the sky and the waters below the sea.
1, 2, 3, action.
Sky above, ocean below.
Do it again.
Sky above, ocean below.
Okay.
Can you do that? On the third day of creation, God gathered the waters together and created seas or oceans, and then also made space for dry land where plants could grow. So let's see if you can come up with a hand motion for gathering the waters, spreading out dry land, and making grasses and trees grow. Why don't you try that? We gather in the waters, we create dry land, and then we have grasses and trees grow. On the fourth day of creation, God created the sun, the moon, and the stars. Our friend Neva is going to show us some motions for that. Let's see if you can do that also. On the fifth day of creation, God created the fish of the sea and the birds of the sky. Our friend Jonah is going to show us some hand motions and body motions to get us into what it might look like for fish and for birds. And let's see if you can do those actions also.
Okay, let's do it. Flap like a birdie. And then swim like a fishy. Okay, now let's do that one more time. And then swim like a fishy.
Flap, flap, flap.
Swim like a fishy.
Woo, woo.
Okay.
Finally, on the sixth day, we have the creation of all sorts of animals that walk and crawl and creep on land, including people, actually. And so I'm going to invite you to make the sounds of your favorite animal or point to any sort of animals that you might have around you, like Aiden is doing in the video coming up.
Animals. Lots of animals.
Finally, on the seventh day, God created rest. God created Shabbat. If you can imagine, God had been working so hard to create the light and the dark, the waters above and the waters below, the seas, the dry land, the grasses and trees, the sun and moon and stars, the fish and the birds, all of the different animals. And God needed a break. And so we also take that break on Shabbat to celebrate and to enjoy. We have several different foods and blessings that we say to welcome in Shabbat, as Evelyn and Ezra are going to show you. For 5,781 years, we have been celebrating the creation of our beautiful world. We ask God to open up our eyes and teach us how to live, to remind us of who we are supposed to be before we declare God as one. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. One finger to remind us that God is one, and some of us close or cover our eyes so that we can focus on the idea that God is one as we sing the words of Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. In just a few moments, we'll take some time to offer the prayer of our hearts. But before we do, I just want to acknowledge that sometimes it's not easy to pray. Sometimes we don't know what to pray for. Sometimes we have these feelings inside of us, these thoughts inside of us, and we just don't know the words to express them. We don't know how to express them with music or words or anything else for that matter. So I have a story for you. It's about a little girl who used to go to services with her mother. And they would sit in a synagogue and listen to the majesty of the choir, and they would listen to the words of the rabbi's teachings and sermons, and they would listen to the prayers of the people around them, and they would read the prayers in the prayer book in the Siddur. But for the little girl, she just didn't know how to pray. She couldn't read the words. She liked the music, but she didn't have a great voice. And she felt stuck. So when the rabbi said to everyone, take a few moments to offer your personal prayer, the little girl didn't know what to do. She sat there, fiddling with her shofar, which she was so excited to use. Her mom kept looking at her and shushing her. Don't do that. Don't do that. But the little girl couldn't hold it in anymore. She felt moved. And so she stood up and let out, The mother was mortified. The mother was so upset. How could her daughter be doing this in the middle of the silent prayer? And just as everyone was starting to get worked up and the mother was about to yell at her daughter, the rabbi stood up, quieted everyone down, and said, now that is the most profound, the best personal prayer I have ever heard. So with whatever you have within you, however you need to express it, I invite you to offer your personal prayer. Rosh HaShanah is one of the times that we think about how we've been over the past year. Have we acted in good ways? Have we acted in bad ways? Have we done things to make people feel better, or have we hurt them? Most of us have done some of both. And so we think about what we did right and how to do more of that, and what we did wrong and how to do less of that. And we turn to the people that we've hurt, our friends, our family, God, and we apologize. We say, I'm sorry, and we ask for forgiveness. This next song, Avinu Malkeinu, asks God to be like a kind and generous parent and ruler, like a king or a queen, who will give us forgiveness for the times that we've messed up. Please join with me. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu v'anenu, ki ein banu masim, aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed. Let's try that in English. I'm sorry for what I did wrong. 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 I'll try to be caring, more loving and sharing. Forgive me for what I did wrong. I'll try to be the best that I can be. I'll try with all of my might to do what I know is right. I'm sorry for what I did wrong. I'm sorry for what I did wrong. I'll try to be caring, more loving and sharing. Forgive me for what I did wrong. Take a moment to turn to your family members. Try to think of one thing that you can do better in the coming year, and apologize for not doing your best in the past year. And together we say, I'm sorry for what I did wrong. We all have different ways of welcoming in, celebrating, announcing a birthday. Sometimes we do that with cards, sometimes with songs, sometimes with joyful shouts. On Rosh HaShanah, we announce the new year, the birthday of the world, with the shofar. I like to hear the shofar blast, sometimes slow and sometimes fast. I like to hear the shofar blast. Happy, happy, happy New Year, try that. I like to hear the shofar blast, sometimes slow and sometimes fast. I like to hear the shofar blast. Happy, happy, happy New Year. Now the first call sounds like this. Tekiah, try that. Tekiah. I like to hear the shofar blast, sometimes slow and sometimes fast. I like to hear the shofar blast. Happy, happy, happy New Year. The next call is Shari. Try that. Shari. I like to hear the shofar blast, sometimes slow and sometimes fast. I like to hear the shofar blast. Happy, happy, happy New Year. Third call is Truah. It sounds like this. Truah. Try that. Truah. I like to hear the shofar blast, sometimes slow and sometimes fast. I like to hear the shofar blast. Happy, happy, happy New Year. Let's review all three calls. We're going to start with our tekiah. Tekiah, shvarim, truah. I like to hear the shofar blast, sometimes slow and sometimes fast. I like to hear the shofar blast. Happy, happy, happy New Year. Our last call is the Tekiah Gedolah. We're going to take a big deep breath for this. Tekiah Gedolah. I like to hear the shofar blast, sometimes slow and sometimes fast. I like to hear the shofar blast. Happy, happy, happy New Year. I like to ready for some shofar calls? Are you ready for some shofar calls? Because here we go. First, we're going to say the blessing for listening, for hearing the shofar calls. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. If you didn't catch all that, you can say amen, and it's as if you said it. So, perfect. Now we also say a special blessing because it's the first time this year we are hearing the calls on Rosh HaShanah. So join with me in the words of Shehechianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Both of those blessings were, praised are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who made us holy with commandments and commanded us to hear the sound of the shofar. And blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who gave us life, who sustained us and brought us to this moment. Now, let's hear the calls. Tikiya. Shvarim, Trua, Tikiya Gedola, Shofar blast, sometimes slow and sometimes fast. I like to hear the shofar blast. Happy, happy, happy New Year. We're going to end our service with the words Lishana Tovah Tikatevu, may we be written for a good year in the book of life. Lishana Tovah Tikatevu, Lishana Tovah Tikatevu, Lishana Tovah Tikatevu. Try that with me. Lishana Tovah Tikatevu, Lishana Tovah Tikatevu, Lishana Tovah Tikatevu. Lishana Tovah. Have a sweet and good year.